A diver surfaced, screaming about a pile of dead, naked bodies scattered across the sea floor. It was the summer of 1900, and what he had actually found was far stranger than corpses. Beneath him lay a Roman-era shipwreck, undisturbed for nearly 2,000 years. Divers began hauling up bronze statues, jewelry, and pottery from the freezing dark water. Then came a small, corroded lump of metal that almost no one thought was worth keeping. For months, that lump sat ignored in a museum courtyard, crumbling in the open air. Inside it, unseen, was a machine that would force scientists to question everything they believed about the ancient world. Because buried in that bronze were gears, precise, interlocking gears, centuries before anyone thought such things existed. The question that would haunt researchers for the next 100 years was simple. Who built this, and how? If the dating was right, nothing this advanced would appear again for over 1,000 years. By the end of this documentary, you'll understand what the device actually did, and why one mystery still refuses to close. The shipwreck rested off a tiny, wind-battered island called Antikythera, wedged between Crete and mainland Greece. Sponge divers had only stopped there to shelter from a violent storm, never planning to search for treasure. Diving in heavy canvas suits and copper helmets, they descended nearly 150 feet into darkness. One diver died from decompression sickness, and 2 more were left permanently disabled by the recovery effort. The ship itself had likely been sailing from the eastern Mediterranean, loaded with luxury cargo bound for Rome. Marble and bronze statues came up first, dazzling archaeologists who had never seen a haul like it. Coins and wine jars later helped date the wreck to sometime between 70 and 60 BCE. Almost no one paid attention to the shapeless bronze lump cataloged quietly among the lesser finds. It cracked apart on its own as it dried, revealing thin, corroded plates layered like old parchment. In May of 1902, archaeologist Valerio Stias leaned in close and noticed something that stopped him cold. Embedded in the bronze was a gear wheel, its teeth still faintly visible after 2,000 years underwater. Ancient Greece was not supposed to have machines like this. Mechanical gearing simply wasn't part of the story historians told. Stias suggested it might be some kind of astronomical clock, and most of his colleagues dismissed the idea outright. For decades, the fragments sat in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, treated as a curiosity rather than a breakthrough. World wars, funding gaps, and skepticism kept the mechanism in storage while its secrets stayed locked inside corroded metal. It would take a British physicist obsessed with the history of science to finally take it seriously. Derek de Solla Price began studying the fragments in the 1950s, convinced they held something extraordinary. He used gamma-ray imaging in the 1970s, an unusual technique for an archaeological artifact at the time. His scans suggested dozens of gears, meshed together in a way no ancient text had ever described. Price published his findings, calling it an ancient calculator, and much of the academic world remained unconvinced. Skeptics argued the device could be a medieval fake, smuggled into the wreck, or simply misread. The technology to prove them wrong did not yet exist, and the mystery stalled for another generation. Everything changed in 2005, when a research team brought industrial X-ray equipment built for jet engine testing. Using a custom-built scanner, the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project imaged fragments no human eye had ever fully seen. Microscopic Greek inscriptions emerged from inside the bronze, thousands of characters too small to read with the naked eye. Hidden text described lunar phases, planetary motion, and instructions for reading dials on the surface of the device. The scans revealed at least 30 separate bronze gears, some with teeth barely a millimeter apart. One gear alone contained 223 teeth, precisely matching the number of lunar months in an ancient eclipse cycle. That cycle, known as the Saros cycle, allowed ancient astronomers to predict eclipses years in advance. A single hand crank on the side of the device turned the entire system into motion. Turning that crank moved dials tracking the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets known to antiquity. A rotating black and silver ball displayed the moon's phase exactly as it would appear in the night sky. Another dial tracked something unexpected, the 4-year calendar cycle of the ancient Olympic Games.
Researchers realized the device wasn't just a calculator, it was a portable model of the entire visible cosmos.
No comparable machine would be built again in Europe until mechanical clocks appeared in the 14th century. That gap of over 1,000 years is what makes the Antikythera mechanism so difficult to explain. If this technology existed once, historians had to ask an uncomfortable question. Had it existed before and simply vanished? Ancient writers actually hinted at the answer, though almost no one had connected the clues until now. The Roman philosopher Cicero once described a bronze device built by Archimedes that modeled the motion of the planets. Archimedes died more than a century before the Antikythera ship sank, ruling him out as its direct builder. But his design tradition may have survived, passed down through generations of Greek instrument makers. Some researchers point to the island of Rhodes, a known center for astronomy and precision engineering in antiquity. The astronomer Hipparchus, whose lunar theory matches irregularities built into the mechanism's gearing, worked on Rhodes around that time. This remains a leading theory, not a proven fact. No signed inscription names an inventor. Whoever built it clearly had access to mathematics, metallurgy, and astronomical data far beyond common knowledge for the era. The precision required to cut gears this small, by hand, still impresses modern engineers today. Recreating the mechanism with ancient tools has taken master clockmakers months of painstaking trial and error. Every replica confirms the same unsettling fact. The ancient builder understood mechanics we assumed had been lost or never existed. So why did this knowledge disappear instead of spreading across the ancient world? One theory points to the collapse of the Hellenistic scientific centers as Rome's power expanded across the Mediterranean. Libraries burned, workshops closed, and the specialized craftsmen capable of this work may have simply died without apprentices. Complex knowledge in the ancient world often existed in only a handful of minds at once. Lose those minds, and centuries of expertise can vanish within a single generation. It is a sobering reminder that technological progress has never been guaranteed to move only forward. Since 2005, researchers have continued returning to the wreck site, hoping the sea still holds missing pieces. Divers using modern rebreather technology have recovered bronze fittings, a ring, and fragments of the ship itself. No additional pieces of the mechanism itself have surfaced, leaving key questions about its full design unanswered. Scholars still debate exactly how many dials the front face originally displayed before corrosion destroyed the evidence. Some reconstructions suggest a planetary display so advanced it borders on what later Greek astronomers only theorized about. Whether that theoretical version was ever fully built remains speculation, not established fact. What is certain is smaller and somehow more remarkable. This was a working machine, not a design on paper. Someone turned that crank in the 1st century BCE and watched the future eclipses of their own lifetime unfold. The device now sits behind reinforced glass in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, still missing most of itself. Visitors lean close to a fragment barely the size of a paperback book, unaware of what it actually proved. It proved that ancient minds were capable of engineering. We spent 2,000 years assuming they never attempted. The real mystery was never whether the ancient world could build something like this. The real mystery is how much more they built that the sea and time never gave back. If you had to guess who built it, Archimedes' students, the astronomers of Rhodes, or someone history never recorded, tell me your theory below and subscribe to Arcanum Studio for the next hidden history investigation.